afternoon. My name is 211480, Hispanic female, food allergies, caffeine, medications, none, 5'4", 130 pounds. It is a pleasure to meet all of you today. Now, I've spent a little bit of time evaluating the brain, and I'm here today to tell you how amazing your brain is, but also how it's completely destroying your identity. I'm going to do that by telling you about two words you already know. The first is identity. Identity is defined as the fact of being who or what a person or thing is. Your brain is constantly playing a guess who game. It is trying to determine your identity while everyone around you is trying to determine your identity as well, and vice versa. To determine your identity, your brain goes through 3 identity evaluation methods: individual, interpersonal, and institutional. Your identity is this change jar. Each piece of information is a new lesson, experience that will serve you as a survival tactic. As you accumulate these pieces of information, these beliefs about yourself and your identity, you form your change jar, your identity. Your individual identity is your cognitive internalization. It all happens in your brain. You don't involve people around you or your institutions. This is what defines you. Although it is a small portion of your overall identity, it is a very strong portion. In comparison to currency, it's probably equivalent to a nickel. For me, I was always very creative in my play space. So that is one of my individual identities that has always been true about me throughout the entirety of my life. The second method that your brain uses to determine your identity is interactional identity. This makes up a huge portion of your identity. The definition is identification of others in contrast to self. It's comparing yourself based on values, based on ability, to your peers, to your parents, to people around you. I remember on the first day of middle school, I was 11 years old. I had been homeschooled, sheltered. I had gone to private school some years, and we were an impoverished family. I walked in the doors of Castle South Middle School, and I saw straightened hair, name brand clothes, bleached teeth. I didn't even know you were allowed to get bleached teeth at 11. Beautiful makeup that I had not even considered wearing at that point. I had come in no makeup. I had forgotten to brush my hair, or I didn't want to brush my hair. I wore a plain solid-colored t-shirt and jeans. The next day, I came to school with a full face of makeup, straightened hair, and the most fashionable outfit in my closet I could find. You tell me that that's sad, but it's your brain attempting to survive. Previously in history, if you were not liked by the pack, you didn't hunt with the pack. If you didn't hunt with the pack, you didn't eat. And if you didn't eat, then you didn't survive. And our brain is still in that survival mode. That is why your brain is destroying your identity. Your brain is designed to optimize your chances of survival by copying behavior. And for a 2-year-old human baby who, before they are even self-aware, can duplicate getting in a drawer or a door to retrieve a desired item, before they're even self-aware, may I add, have just determined themselves a scavenger just by watching it a few times. But your brain does this with both positive and negative behaviors, which is very important to note. For example, my mother is a pathological narcissist. She was very abusive to me and my siblings for very many years. For many years. In our time with her, my brain determined we do not need this. We need to survive. So it determined all females from that day forward as dangerous, especially adult females. By the time I was 18 years old, I had maybe befriended 2 adult females in 18 years, And that was only because they were unmistakably unlike my mother. What if my brain had the ability to determine an abusive woman from an unabusive woman? Think of all the relationships I could have had that could have mentored me, that could have developed me, that could have grown me, that could have taught me what an adult woman looks like. Instead, I suffered years in school being judged for only having male friends and having one female friend who occasionally came back to hang out with me and occasionally didn't. And that happened for 7 years of my public school education. Your interpersonal identity isn't the only identity that destroys your overall identity. Your institutional identity is another big segment of your overall identity that destroys you. The cool thing about institutions is they will determine a set of standards for you to value yourself on and everyone else around you. So they will tell you, good grades, good, you're valuable. Bad grades, you're okay. Academic achievements, you must be worth something. Without academic achievements, you're average. You're existing, you're okay. So this is the new name that I got while being in the educational institution. It was lazy, below average, unmotivated, rebellious, and I had no future. I was by no means a star student. There is no one in the past 7 years that will tell you that I was academically talented. Not even one. Or in terms of academically excellent. I had some serious disciplinary actions. Disciplinary citations. I had enough to buy me food for a week if each one were $1 as an adult, which is a lot. It was a lot. I had more disciplinary citations than Kylie Jenner has lipsticks. It was bad. Dress code, chewing gum, snarky comments, disrespectful comments, being late to class, skipping class altogether, skipping whole days of school, skipping too many days of school, which got me another demerit from all the demerits that I had skipped school for. I was convinced I was destined for disappointment. I was going to be in a factory dead-end job. Not that there's anything wrong with factories, but I had already sat in school for that long, and I wasn't the kind of person who could just focus on one thing all the time. But they told me, this is the only way you're ever going to make money. And this is what you have to do, because you are not at the standard to be where everyone else is right now, or because this is what you're good at. And I said, there are better people at this than me. And there are more talented people, by all of your standards means, than myself. So I will never, in a world, if this is what the real world is like, I will never equal anyone else, or I will never not be below average again. That's it. For the rest of my life, my value is maybe a D on the scale. What's the point of living if you're just going to be a D for the rest of your life? One of the most popular TED Talks of all time is by Sir Ken Robinson. It's called Why Schools Kill Creativity. And this was something he said in it. The consequence of our institutions is that many highly talented, brilliant, creative people think they're not because the thing they were good at in school wasn't valued or it was actually stigmatized. This is how I felt. 0 value, 0 ability. That was it. I was doomed. Until one day, my junior year, a teacher stood in the hallway, he planted his feet like this, he looked at me straight in the eye as a professional, he put out his hand. And he said, "Congratulations on your achievement." And I said, "What?" And then I remembered that I had just entered a singing competition, and there was a small excerpt in the paper. I didn't even win the competition, but I was in there as a participant. And he was congratulating me for an achievement that was outside of math, science, history, or literature, or language arts. This stunned me. This was the same teacher who had written probably a third of the demerits that I owned to buy my lunches with. He stopped me and he said, "Congratulations." And I said, "I need more of that." So I promised you a second word. It's reinvent. The definition of reinvent is to change something so much that it appears to be entirely new, or to take up a very different job or way of life. Mr. Cruz caused me to reevaluate what standards I was being held to at an institutional level. Mr. Cruz made me think about, what if you're allowed to be good at things outside of history, math, science, or language arts? What if, on the off chance, everything that I've been told for the past 7 years about my value could be wrong? Because schools preach about your values, oftentimes. You matter. But I wanted to feel it. I wanted to be someone who impacted the world. And that's when I started valuing myself as a problem solver. 2 weeks from the day that Mr. Cruz stood in the hallway and shook my hand and congratulated me on a singing competition, he shook my hand again for securing my spot in the 2016 Changemaker Challenge at the University of Evansville, a competition for socially innovative ideas. A month from that day, he shook my hand again and congratulated me on my full tuition scholarship to the University of Evansville for this project. Thank you. This project required zero science knowledge, well, a little bit, about how the sun works, zero science knowledge, zero literature knowledge, zero math knowledge, and zero history knowledge, or at least based on a common level. We worked with engineers who took years of math, and we needed them very badly, but we erected the tallest solar tree in the world that will serve as the bridge between technological, social, and environmental engagement. The first of its kind, and you can see it downtown Evansville right now at Mickey's Kingdom. It was just completed yesterday, October 26th. October is today, October 26th. October 25th. And none of this came from any of the classes that I took my 7 years in the public education system. After that, I took on many more projects. I served on a marketing team for a nonprofit in Cuba improving diplomacy. I went to Germany for social innovation conventions and came back with notebooks full of new ideas to change the world. None of them told me that I didn't have the ability. All of them encouraged every idea. I've been on multiple community projects. I've won another Changemaker Challenge since then with a project that I'll be picking up shortly. And I've completely changed my demeanor. I was insecure. I was very introverted. I was afraid to build relationships. I was afraid to speak out and be opinionated about things that I wasn't educated in. But when encountering change at the University of Evansville, I experienced the ability that I, nearly a child, had to impact the world. I created with my team a beautiful solar beacon, and we were able to influence many people in Cuba, and I've done many rewarding projects since then. So what's the difference? Reinvention. Reinvention is the difference. You do not have to stand for the standards put upon you by your institution, by your peers, by your parents, by anyone around you, by anyone who's been involved in your life and told you, you benchmark kind of low, you know? You compare to everyone around you on a pretty low level. Your value is in your internal identity, what you're good at. Make it your passion. And don't let someone tell you that you're not going to make money at it. Don't let someone tell you that you're not going to be the one in a million. Don't let somebody tell you that you don't stand a chance. No one told me these things, but no one told me that I stood a chance either, which is practically the same thing. When I learned to speak, when I learned to interact with people, when I learned to build, when I learned to inspire, I learned how to make change. And I will passionately continue making that change in people and in places for the rest of my life. Thank you.